President Trump is giving it to Google, tweeting that its search process is very dangerous and possibly illegal. Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing, reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake CNN is prominent.
I think that Google and Facebook and Twitter, I think they treat conservatives and Republicans very unfairly. I could tell you that I have personal experience.
Joining us now, Shana Blender, technology analyst and commentator here in Washington. So Google may have flaws in the way it tweaks these algorithms, but could the company be consistently rigging all searches against Donald Trump and the Republican Party?
I mean, the short answer is no. Yes, have there been times perhaps where, because there's human beings behind this technology, some bias has resulted? I'm sure. But, you know, there's a set of rules based on like 200 factors that Google considers when it's showing you the news results. And, you know, sure, you know, Google could prove that it's not biased by, you know, opening the kimono, showing you the algorithm. But, I mean, can you even imagine how many people would exploit that? You know, I can assure you, game the system. You know, I can assure you that it would not lead to a more balanced list of news articles in your search.
So this 96% figure that the president cited in his tweet is based on a blogger at the conservative site PJ Media who ran a test, Trump News, and found that most of the hits were from what she calls left-leaning sites. So happens I ran the same test, Trump News. Fox kept popping up 1 or 2 out of 3, so I guess it depends on when you do it and how you frame the search and all that. So is that enough to warrant this sort of presidential blast?
Listen, I understand the suspicion here. I mean, this article certainly struck a chord with people who've been following recent news coverage about bias at big tech companies, and they're concerned. But you know, what concerns me is that there was this woman that sat behind a few different computers, plugged in a few different words into Google News, and it's caused such an uproar, from complaints to, about censorship to calling for federal investigations. I feel like it's a little mismatched to the actual study that was performed.
Right, and there's some call for government regulation, which in my view would be worse because, well, who's going to trust the government to somehow, in a fair and unbiased way, decide the perfect balance in all news searches? But it seems to me that, when CNN or Washington Post, New York Times pop up in these rankings, I mean, doesn't Google reward the most popular websites, whether the president happens to think that those are hostile to him or not?
Yes, they do. I mean,
Explain how it works.
So it's really hard to translate these journalistic values into like a set of rules that they use and apply to everyone. But we've seen that Google really does weigh original content. It weighs traffic to sites, and that plays that plays against these smaller sites with maybe a handful of reporters putting out a few stories a day versus dozens of stories being put out by Washington Post or other mainstream media organizations.
Some of which may have hundreds of reporters. So you're saying Google rewards that, and it's not necessarily an ideological decision that there's so much more content and people click on it, therefore Google deems it must be relevant. I'm
saying, yeah, there's probably truth to a little bit of the, the suspicion, but it's not a nefarious reason behind the bias that's because of the rules and that they set in place.
Yeah, there's a reason people don't trust big tech, and there may be isolated instances, but in Google's case, I'm not sure the case has been proved. Shana Glenze, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by this Sunday.